guys, and welcome to Petrol Ped, and welcome to the BMW M5 Competition. Now, unusually for one of my reviews, I am starting in the car. Two reasons for that. You just want to get to the driving. That's the first thing you want to do when you get one of these. And secondly, it's hugely windy today, so I thought I'd just mix things up a little bit and go driving first of all. Now, I've been driving this car for nearly a week now, thanks to BMW UK. It's a car I've really looked forward to getting on the road. I have driven one before. I drove one on a BMW driving experience training day last year at Bedford Autodrome, and it was very impressive. But the thing that not tainted my view of the car then, but made me maybe not love it quite so much as I should have done, was I first of all drove an M2 competition and then jumped straight out of that and went into an M5 competition on track. And they're very, very different cars. They weigh considerably different amounts and have quite a lot of a difference in their performance and their power and so on. And the M5 just felt a bit heavy and a bit ponderous and not really the kind of car you'd want to go on a circuit with. Then I drove the M8 competition in Spain last year, which fundamentally under the skin is the same car as this, obviously different dimensions, different body format, but same engine, same drivetrain, and that was hugely impressive. So I really, really wanted to get into an M5 competition to see what it was like, and I must say, it's really good. Now, the very first thing I did after picking this car up from BMW HQ on Monday was drive to Wales, mid-Wales. So I had a 4-hour drive there, pretty epic drive to be honest. And then the next morning, got up, did a day's work. It snowed and I drove back in the snow, but I had the most amazing drive home. I had a few bits of really great cross-country road where the traffic was quite low and the road conditions were a bit slippy and a bit greasy, but it was still a fantastic, fantastic journey. And I must admit, I kind of fell in love with this car. Now, it's hugely powerful, we all know that. It's four-wheel drive, I think we all know that too. It's got a whole range of different settings you can put into the MMI to set the car up in however you want, but two very cool buttons on the steering wheel, the M1 and the M2 button. You can basically configure the car how you want, your two favourite setups, and then when you get in it, push of a button, bing, it's exactly how you want it. Now, I must admit, default setting for me, everything to sport except the suspension, which is set to comfort. But when you're in that mode, this thing is just, it's an incredible car to spend time in. And honestly, I've driven and reviewed many, many, many cars in the last 4 years since I've been doing Petrol Ped. And every time you get in them and you kind of have a story in your head that you want to tell, or you think there might be things you don't like about the car, or things that might be things you do like about the car. And my big challenge with this is, honestly, and I'm not just saying this, and don't even go down the route of, oh, you're sponsored by BMW, because I really am not. I think this is one of the best cars ever made. I really do. I mean, I hark back to my youth when the Lotus Carlton came out, and there was a 5-seat family saloon that would do 175 miles an hour, I think it was at the time, and everybody thought that was ridiculous. Well, this is the modern day equivalent of that. You know, it's a 600 plus horsepower, 4-wheel drive family car, and it's a biblical thing. I mean, truly and utterly amazing. These seats are so comfortable. These little wings on the top of the seat, they're not just there for looks, they really do provide you with shoulder support when you're going around the corners. The seats are like sitting in a sofa. The driving position is excellent. The steering wheel just feels lovely in your hand. All in all, a truly magnificent thing. So mooch along in drive and 4-wheel drive, and it's such a competent car, not the least bit intimidating. It is just ridiculously quick though. But actually, you know, you can push on. You have to keep a really good eye on the head-up display to see what your terminal velocity is. But you can still have fun in this car. It has a lovely feel, but if you really want to just get engaged in the drive, just knock the gear lever over to one side, you go to the paddles, and the rumble and the noise from this turbocharged V8 is just sublime. The gear shift is super quick. Now, one of the things you can do, there's a little button on top of the gear stick to sharpen up the changes if you want to do that, even when it's in its slowest setting. They're still magnificently fast, have a lovely feel to them. But yeah, you can just, oh man, it's such a good car. It's so well planted on the road. The suspension is kind of compliant in this comfort setting. If you put it in the Sport Plus suspension setting, for me it's a little bit hard and a little bit jarry on the public road, but you get those cracks on overrun and it's just a magnificent thing. Into third. Round Ferrari corner then. It's just unbelievable. What a machine. So you just don't get any understeer at all, but it's now, at this point here, you can just feel the rear of the car just coming round a little bit. And it gives you such poise and such balance in the corners. And it's such a powerful and heavy car. I remember when I drove it on track, probably because I'd just driven it back to back with an M2, it felt a bit big and over-wielding and too heavy to be on a track. But I've had this car on some amazing bits of road. In Wales, when I was driving there, I just ended up on this incredible road that went over this hill, and it was a bit like that Petrol hill climb, lots of tight hairpins and kind of medium speed corners, and that just feels so good and makes the car feel so planted and so usable and not at all intimidating. I'm pretty sure if you pushed really hard, especially with the four-wheel drive sport mode, or if you're in two-wheel drive, you'd end up sort of, you know, being able to get the back loose and those types of things. But in normal four-wheel drive on that kind of road, this car comes alive. Well, it would be very rude not to try a 0 to 60 test. So let me find a nice straight bit of national speed limit road and see just what this thing can do. In a dash to 60, I have a feeling it's going to be very spectacular. Okay, 0 to 60 test. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh. 60. Yeah, that's really quick. Traction control off, launch control on. For such a big car, how it gets up on its heels and gets away so quick is remarkable. Hugely impressive. Now, for me, you've got three-wheel drive options, if you like. You can do four-wheel drive sport, which biases the power to the rear wheels, and then you can basically turn the traction control fully off and have rear-wheel drive. Now, I don't think that is a mode that many people are going to use on the public highway. It's ridiculous. It's just party hooligan mode on a track day because it does rather spectacular things. So, what are the bad things about the car? Well, it's very difficult. One of the things I was quite impressed with when I filled the car up, or actually I picked it up full at BMW, and it had 400 miles of range. And I thought, that's good. And the fuel gauge didn't move as quickly as I thought it would do. And the reason for that is it's got a really big fuel tank, because on average I'm getting about 18 miles to the gallon. If you try really hard, you might just get your MPG to start with a 2. I wouldn't get excited and say it's going to be a 2 and then a 1. It'll start with a 2. This thing is properly thirsty, and if you push on, so while I'm filming my review, as I speak, I'm averaging 12.3 miles to a gallon. 12.3, because when you get to a place like this, you end up going, it's just magnificent, this thing. Holy moly, this is good. It's a lot of money, £110,000, but it's a lot of performance, and this car, I mean, the wheels on this car are stunning. I really wouldn't like to clean them, that's for sure. They're very intricate, but they just set this car off incredibly. I think it looks wonderful from the outside. I love the spec of this particular press car anyway. The colour, the use of carbon fibre, the carbon fibre roof, the wheels just make it look incredible. And it certainly gets the looks. It sounds incredible as well. I just think it's a brilliant car. Driving dynamics wise, it's right up with there with the best cars I've driven. Certainly the best, I think, saloon car I've driven on the road. I think it feels much better than an M8, and it's the same car as the M8, but I think the M8 was just that little bit bigger. I had the cabriolet version as well, which might just have slightly, corner coming up, let's just put it into manual, down a few cogs, into fourth, and then just turn it in, and you just feel that rotation from the back end, and then on the gas on the way out. Yeah, you do that a lot. But yeah, no, just a brilliant car. I'm going to get loads of grief in the comments for not saying anything negative about it, but I honestly challenge you, if you are ever lucky enough like me to drive one of these for a week, find something you don't like about it. Find something that's not good about it. The technology is brilliant. Operating system 7, the seats are comfortable, the driving position is brilliant, the power delivery is brilliant, the choice of 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive gives you the option to be a hooligan if you want, but if you don't, you can just stick it in drive and just off you go. It's got a kind of analog head-up display rather than the fully TFT things that you'll see on like the new 3 Series I drove the other week. It's just a very good car. And actually now I'm thinking, I've got to set myself a challenge now to drive an all-round better car than this. I remember a few years ago someone describing the M5 at the time as the best car ever made. I think it might have even been Top Gear. But this is right up there. The only car I think that could maybe hold a candle to it, which I haven't driven yet, but I will set myself the challenge, is the new Audi RS6. I think that's got to stand a chance. And I know these aren't everyday cars and everyman cars. I know that they are a very lucky few people can afford to spend this much money on a car. But when you do, by goodness me, you get a good car. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that slightly different format for this video today, thanks to the wind, and I just wanted to do something a little bit different as well. I have to say a huge thank you to BMW UK for letting me have the car for a week. Very special. I've actually still got it for another couple of days. I'm off to Mini for the launch of the new E-Mini tomorrow in it, which should be quite special. But I hope you've enjoyed this one. If you have done so, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome. And if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol for plenty more content to come. And I'll see you on the next film, guys. But you take care. Drive safe.